Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the Two Mics, and I'm going to give you old energy boy, MG, to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense with Mike Porky Parry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Ha, 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 ha. Look at the light!
I think he's a mental pygmy.
Look at the light!
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, and it's time to say a very warm welcome at this time of the morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Good morning, Mike, and what a day of energy in the world of football.
Absolutely
incredible. You know, the old Sky deal going through £5.1 billion.
Yeah.
Most clubs in the Premier League will get a minimum of 100 million a year.
Yeah.
Minimum 100 million a year. And if you win it, a lot more than that.
Right.
It's incredible. And then on top of that, we had the Louis van Gaal press conference.
Yeah.
In which,
Which was more bizarre than anything we've seen for a while, you have to say.
Absolutely crazy. Why he took such offence to being called a long ball merchant when Glenn Hoddle used to pass long balls, so did Paul Scholes, and they were two of the greatest midfield players we've had since the war. I've no idea.
Yeah.
And all that energy must have made you feel a bit tired, because, of course, I've told our audiences before about your rambling gait.
Yes.
Which gives off the attitude.
Why are you making this about me?
Well, because I feel it necessary. Well, I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary to point out that your rambling gait doesn't necessarily mean that you're sloth and slow thinking or anything like that.
Right.
But that's the impression you give. All this energy today...
Well, I only give that impression to you. You seem to be the only person that thinks that.
No,
there's nobody else that thinks that.
No, Mike, honestly, the way that you conduct yourself in life makes you look as though you're always looking for a couch to sit down on.
To you.
No, you're always looking for
Not
a couch to sit
else.
down on because you don't have the fire and the passion and the energy outwardly, I'll give it you might have it inwardly, that I demonstrate.
All of the energy goes on inside my head. It goes on inside in between my ears. And that's exactly where you have no energy at all.
I won't respond to that one. In pursuit of excellence, which is what I'm after all the time, okay?
Really? How's that going?
It's going well. It's going well. The pursuit of excellence
Have you caught up with it yet?
I'm not going to respond to these silly, childish jibes. You know that I've hit a raw nerve there about your energy levels.
Not at all.
Not being good enough.
Absolutely not.
And now you're reacting. Louis van Gaal, and I make no apology for pronouncing it like that, because that's the way it is pronounced. I thought he was fantastic when he was talking today about Big Sham.
Yeah.
Oh, Big Sham. I mean, you can't really imagine Sir Alex Ferguson referring to Sam Allardyce as, Big Sam.
No, you can't really. Shall we have a listen to a bit of his kind of statements a little bit earlier on? Here's Louis van Gaal.
When you have 60% ball possession, do you think that you can do that with long balls? Yeah, long balls in the width to switch the play. So you have to look at the data, and then you see, of course, we play long balls, but more long balls in the width than to the strikers.
There you go. Seems perfectly clear to me, doesn't it?
Well,
I'm not sure, actually.
I thought that was very good, Big Sham. Imagine if he talked about the special one, you know, and Shaiko, Stuart Pearce, Shaiko, good managers, you know. But I have no idea why he felt he had to come out and justify himself.
Produce a dossier.
And produce a dossier, 4 pages of A4 papers, which were gleaned from the optic effects.
You don't think this is his way of making fun of it, do you? You don't think he's just got a very strange sense of humour? Because you know some European managers that we've seen before have got sort of slightly odd senses of humour.
No.
He doesn't look as if he's got a sense of humour at all.
No, I don't think he's got a sense of humour. I think he takes the whole thing very, very seriously. No, I think he's just stung by... The whole thing is, Mike, these people, these football coaches, right? Now, Brian Clough just regarded himself as a man whose job was to win football matches, and he won lots of them. Right. And 2 European Cups. He never tried to convince us he was some sort of a genius, because I think we all recognise that he was.
Right.
The closest he ever got to trying to convince us was to say things like, well, young man, I wouldn't say I'm the greatest football coach in the world, but I'm certainly in the top 1.
Yeah.
Ha, 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 ha. That was the closest he got.
I mean, the thing is that he was probably quite... he didn't like people being particularly impertinent to him, did he? He didn't like journalists turning up and asking questions because he didn't think they knew what they were talking about.
No.
And in his case, he was probably right.
Yeah, he was, But what I'm saying about Louis van Gaal, is that he worries that his whole legacy about being a genius coach with vision and turning out teams which play beautiful football could be threatened by somebody, a newspaper journalist, questioning whether he's playing long ball football.
But of course, I think it's his Achilles heel because I mean, if you looked at the way that the Dutch played in the World Cup, they didn't play what you might describe as beautiful football.
No,
and while he's won lots of things in the past, you wouldn't. His background is not somebody who plays beautiful football. He's somebody that's won quite a lot. That's all.
Yeah. Now I tell you,
why are you answering like a Dutchman?
Well, yeah, sure. How you say in England? Yeah, I get into the Vogue. What I was going to say was the people I feel sorry for are the press officers at Manchester United who now have to deliver this because when it's all gone and he gets up and he walks away from that press conference, he's not then available for the after questions, if you see what I mean. Yeah. So that all falls on the old United press officers, and they'll be asked by all these bemused journalists, what on earth do you mean by that? And what's this for? And all that.
They had a very easy job when Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge because they had to ban people every 5 minutes, didn't they?
Well, no, Sir Alex Ferguson banned them himself. Yeah. I saw it happening in several press conferences. There was one there, I remember a guy from the Press Association was sitting in the... and Sir Alex Ferguson said, you're banned. And the kid said, well, I was let in anyway. He says, all right. Well, you can ask your 3 questions then. And this kid had to stand up and ask his 3 questions. Right. Roundly dismissed on each one, and they had to leave the room, you know. I mean, his own. But, no, the role of a press officer in such a high-profile job can be tricky.
Well, you would know this, of course, because you were indeed a press officer at the FA.
Well, absolutely, and I did a fantastic job in improving the communication process between the world's press and the Football Association.
People don't talk about it as like the golden generation of press officers, do they?
I think they do.
Like when you were at the FA.
Oh, I think they do. Before me, there was nobody. Right. You've got to understand, I dealt with so many crises.
Yeah. What crises did you deal with then? Tell me.
What crises did I deal with? Right, the Bruce Grobbelaar allegations about bung money being paid, which, of course, he was cleared of in the end. Right. Paul Merson admitting that he was stuffing cocaine up his nose whilst drinking 15 pints of lager and gambling away £7 million. Terry Venables, England manager, being constantly accused of shady practices, none of which were ever justified,
Seems quite unusual that all of these crises would have come to a head while you were in charge.
George Graham.
While you were in charge.
Well, absolutely, while I was in charge. Yeah. Maybe I unearthed them all because I was a super investigator. George Graham being accused of carrying caseloads of money around.
These were not crises for the FA, though,
they were crises. They were all big crises. I mean,
they were big stories, but not for the FA. It wasn't as if the FA were under scrutiny, though.
You say that where I went, trouble followed me. We only played one away game during the course I was there because England were about to host the Euro 96, so they didn't have to play any qualifiers, right? One game we went to was Ireland. Yeah. What happened? All the fans.
The stadium got wrecked.
Rioted and started pulling the stadium. That was under
your watch as well.
That was under my watch. I was actually there. I was there.
Well, that seems like an extraordinary catalogue of terrible stories in the papers.
The other problem was when I talked to Graham Kelly about taking the job, and David Davis was my immediate boss. He was the guy who used to be a BBC presenter and then became director of communications. I said, you need more openness. Right. And so every Friday, I'd, go and have a few drinks with a few of the Fleet Street boys. Oh, right. And every Monday morning, Graham Kelly would ring me on the phone and say, Michael, I need a word with you, please. And I'd go into Graham Kelly's office, who at 7 o'clock in the morning...
Was this when they were still in Lancaster Gate?
In Lancaster Gate, yeah. And there was a rabbit warren of offices. And Graham Kelly was still eating his cornflakes. He always used to come in early, very early, because he missed all the traffic, because he lived in sort of East Anglia, Cambridge or somewhere, And he'd come out, have you seen the papers over the weekend, Michael?
Which, of course, you had.
Yes, I have, yes. That's my job. I read every newspaper every day, Mr. Kelly. There's been a series of stories about events happening inside this building, and I'd like you, Michael, I'd like you to organise an immediate inquiry into this leak. This is very, very
inquiry.
A leak inquiry, yeah. I said, leave it with Mr. Kelly, I'm on the job. I'll get right down to it. Of course, I was the leak.
Yeah.
I'd too much to drink.
So you were giving all these guys the stories on Friday?
Of course I was, because I believed in openness.
Did you not think that was some kind of dereliction of duty?
No, because I believe in openness, and B, I suddenly realised after about a week in the job that I was on the wrong side of the fence, that I shouldn't be a press officer trying to suppress stories, because I was a journalist who liked stories appearing in newspapers. Right. So I actually told the boys everything. And
how long was it before they figured out it was you?
Well, about 9 months, I think. But Mr. Kelly, every Monday, I've seen a few stories.
So when you organised these leak inquiries, did they ever have a conclusion?
No,
did you ever
of course
find
not.
The leaker?
Of course not. Occasionally Mr. Kelly would ring me up and answer my phone on the desk. Email was very rare in those days, believe it or not. Hello, Michael, it's Graham Kelly here. Yes, Mr. Kelly. have we found the mole? I said, no. I said, the hunt is still on for the mysterious mole. But I said, he's covering his tracks well. I'll keep looking.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Absolutely staggering. Yeah. Staggering lack of loyalty to the organisation.
In those days, well, never mind about that. In those days, there are only about 10% of the people there that there are now. Yeah. You know what I mean? That was amazing.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Yeah. You will do anything to get your name in the paper.
No, I didn't get my name in the paper. My name was never on it.
You knew secretly that it was yours.
Well, yeah.
There is some pleasure to be had from that. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. More coming up.
I don't know which song it is.
Seaside Rendezvous. Yeah, we played it the last time we talked about Bournemouth because obviously you're going down for a seaside rendezvous to Bournemouth when they get promoted at the end of the season.
It looks like
and you're going to throw yourself off the pier dressed as a duck, aren't you?
Well, I've got an update on that.
Yeah,
I've got an update on that.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and wriggle out of it.
Oh, I'm not wriggling out of it. I very much want to dress up as a duck and launch myself off the pier because people think I've been unkind.
How about being fired from a cannon?
Well, no, that's not a good idea.
No,
I could break your back or things like that.
Well,
But however. And there is one particular Bournemouth fan who keeps tweeting me and goading me into doing this. I don't know his name.
Well, you were the one that said you were going to do it.
Yeah.
Nobody's goaded you into it. You independently offered to throw yourself off the pier dressed as a duck if they got promoted.
It's true.
Which I thought was very rash of you, actually.
Well, yeah, I thought they'd collapse at the end of the season. Now, this young chap's name is here somewhere, but I'll find out who he is and tell you before the end of the show.
Thank you very much. I look forward to that.
But the point is, right, that I have already made inquiries.
Have you?
About how I can do this off the end of the pier.
Right.
Now, the problem is that it would be classified as tombstoning to jump off the end of the pier.
Uh-huh.
Now, you know what tombstoning is?
Yeah, I do know what tombstoning is.
Tombstoning are young people who jump high in the air.
Free jumping, you might call it.
Yeah, bring their knees up to their waist and then bomb into the water to create the biggest splash.
Usually from a very great height, though, much higher than a pier. How high is it from the pier into the water, do you reckon?
Oh, it could be 20 feet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's not that far.
Well, yeah, you say that. You try doing it. Now, the point is...
I've jumped in from 20 feet
The point is, people have injured themselves... People have injured themselves doing this. You know, there's hard sand and rocks down there, and it looks like I'm going to be banned from doing it.
Well, as long as there's more water and there's more depth of water than there is air, you'll be fine.
No, not necessarily.
What do you mean, not necessarily?
Well, because...
How will you go down deeper than you've jumped? How will you manage that scientifically?
Oh, you could do that easy.
Well, you can if you dive.
Yeah, no.
If you just jump.
No, you don't understand. There might only be 6 feet of water, and if I'm jumping from 20 feet...
Yes, I know. Well, that's what I've just said to you. As long as there's more water than there is air, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but there's not more water than there. If there's 20 feet of air and 6 feet of water, you've got a problem.
I don't believe it's only 6 feet of water at the end of Bournemouth Pier.
It's less than that sometimes. It depends where the tide is. Now, the point is...
Do you want me to check for you?
But yeah, you can check if you like. The point is that people have been injured. It is irresponsible. I don't want to set a bad example.
So you are trying to back out of it,
No, I'm not trying to back out, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be given permission. I think what I'm going to have to do
is... Would you like me to help out? I could intervene.
No.
I could talk to Bournemouth Council
No.
You don't want me to?
No, because I'm handling it myself, my responsibility.
I see.
And I do think that I'm going to have to probably pay a monetary penalty by inviting a few Bournemouth fans round to a boozer in Bournemouth and buy them all a drink.
Before you do the jump?
No, instead of doing the jump.
What do you mean you're not going to do the jump?
Well, I don't think I'm going to be allowed to.
Well, why don't you let me handle it? I'll sort it out for you.
No, I don't think you'll be able to.
Yeah,
I think that'll muddy the waters. I think that'll literally muddy the waters.
I don't think it will. You'd be amazed.
I think it will.
You'd be amazed at how efficient I can be when I need to get something sorted out.
I think it will. But anyway, look, that's a minor problem. What are we going to do to reflect the enormity of the new deal for TV football?
Why are you changing the subject?
Well, because we don't want to dwell too much on the subject. No.
Well, if you don't want to do the jumping off the pier,
I do want to do it.
I can understand. It could be frightening. It could be frightening, and it could injure you.
No.
I agree.
No, I don't pull out of things like that.
Maybe what we should do is get people to suggest some other form of torture for you.
It's not torture or anything like that.
Well,
the point
forfeit,
is,
then, shall we say?
I think that I should have to pay a financial penalty by buying...
No, because that's easy for you.
No,
because that's how you go through life.
No.
You go through life just throwing money at things and thinking that they'll go away.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
That's a terrible thing to say.
Well, look what you did with the beer last night.
No.
You know, you told us about how you got rid of all this beer, didn't know what to do with it, so you just gave it away. Right?
Well, that's not paying off people or anything like that, or money.
Paying off all the down and outs.
Well, yeah, I feel I have a responsibility. I think I have a responsibility to look after those less fortunate than myself.
So you made a forfeit that if Bournemouth got promoted, you would jump off the end of Bournemouth.
I'm not going to be allowed to. I'm not.
Why don't you let me check it out?
I don't think you'd be able to, Mike.
Well, I don't mind doing it, honestly.
I don't want to upset the people of Bournemouth by aggravating them. And also, I think if I do it, there might be young people around. They might say, that's the Portmeister. If he can jump off the pier, so can I. And if any of them injured themselves, I'd be mortified.
What if you sat in one of those things, those things that people throw like tomatoes at, like the stocks, but then if they hit the right button, you fall into the water.
Yeah, but that might be dangerous as well,
Well, you'd be allowed to do that, though.
Well, I'm not sure about that,
Dressed as a duck. Would you be dressed as a duck in the bar?
I will do that if necessary.
Really?
If necessary, if that's part of the conditions and the deal, I don't mind doing that.
See, I just feel bad for all these Bournemouth fans who have been waiting to see you jumping off the end of the pier, and they're going to feel shortchanged.
Well, I don't think I'll be allowed to.
Just because you buy them a pint, I don't think that's the way forward.
Well, I'll buy them a couple of pints. Don't worry about that.
Couple of pints.
Yeah, each, and I'm happy to to put my hand in my pocket.
They got about 12,000 fans. Down there.
Well, I won't buy every one of them a pint, will I? They won't all turn up,
Well, they might do.
12,000.
It's quite a small town. It's got a big support in that town.
If I bought them 1 pint each...
Yeah, 12,000, one pint each.
It's about £3 in Bournemouth. That's 36 grand.
Yeah.
I don't think
You sure you don't want to jump off the pier instead?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, what I'll probably do is I'll probably put a sum of money...
There's a certain weaseling going on here. I'm not keen on it.
No, I'll probably put a sum of money behind a bar, a designated bar, and say first come, first serve to the Bournemouth fans, really sorry, and all that, and then tell them a few funny stories, give them a bit of hilarity.
I think there's a danger in this as well.
Maybe do my Louis van Gaal
I see a danger. I see a danger
Sven
in
Goran
this.
Eriksson. Well, would you like a drink?
I see a danger in this because if you have that many Bournemouth fans in the room with you, they may decide to carry you off and throw you off the pier.
Oh, I don't think so. It'd be too far. I'll make sure the bar is up in town. Now, we should be talking about the Sky deal.
No, I know you're keen to get off this. But, let me read you this.
Okay.
Mike Parry's impression of Sean Connery talking about long ball tactics was brilliant, according to Brain Cell Storm.
That was Alex Ferguson.
And Muckron says, is Mike Parry feeling okay this morning? He's acting stranger than usual. I think he's hit the bottle, maybe. What do you reckon?
What do you mean, stranger than usual?
I can assure you that he's always this strange.
What?
And he's never at all hit the bottle. Dan says, have a word with Parry. The well is from Sven Goran Eriksson, who is Swedish, not cracking up Van Gaal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know that.
And then here's one from Woodenhead who says, well, I'm sure if Parry can't jump off the pier, we can find him a diving board in a swimming pool in Bournemouth. How about that? That would work.
Yeah, I suppose that would work, yeah, but I don't like public swimming pools. You get diseases in them.
Yeah, well, we'll make sure there's nobody else in it.
We've discussed this before. I might get verrucas from the changing room or something like that.
Well, there are worse fates than getting verrucas.
Well, people urinate in public swimming pools, don't they? That's
Why
the
do you
problem.
keep trying to find excuses?
Well, I'm not finding excuses. Now, here, this is from Matt. He says, if Bournemouth go down, then Mike Parry should have to dress up and perform as their mascot for the last game of the season.
If they go down? Presumably it means if they go up.
Yeah, he says go down here, so he doesn't understand the bet. It's if they go up, Matt. It's if they go up.
He's not in control of his faculties.
No, he's not in control of his faculties. And Kevin here says Bournemouth don't have a tsunami alert system, Mr. Parry, so it's a good thing you've decided not to jump. Ha, 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 says Kevin. And Sean here talking about tales from the FA. Can just imagine Mr. Kelly asking you to find the mole. Yeah, well, it happens all the time.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking confession that was. Yeah, all right, well, listen, we'll figure out what to do in Bournemouth a little bit later on, because obviously there's a long way to go, and you may not even have to do anything if they mess up the end of the season.
It's amazing, isn't it? They're off the top tonight for the first time in quite a few weeks, aren't they?
Peterborough leapfrogged over them, didn't they?
Is it Peterborough?
Sorry, Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough, that's right, yeah, Middlesbrough. And they drew with Derby, didn't they, Bournemouth? Yeah, still a good result.
Very good.
They'll still, obviously, I would imagine, go up. I see Nigel Pearson's sort of demeanour gets... I don't know.
Well, he didn't strangle anybody at Arsenal last night.
Stranger and stranger, though, really, the way he talks in these press conferences. Now, we need to talk about the new Sky deal.
Yeah, we do, but we're out of time.
Yeah, I know, but
usual.
That's because you dwelt on the Bournemouth thing,
because
which most of our listeners are not interested in.
You're trying to weasel out of a deal.
Most of our listeners...
I feel duty-bound to keep you on the straight and narrow. If you make a promise, you should keep to it.
Most of our listeners, no disrespect, are not necessarily Bournemouth fans.
No, they're not.
You dwelt on that far too long.
But even they would like to see you jumping off a pier. Have no fear.
Well, look, I'm not going to wheedle out of anything. I just feel I have a public responsibility to the majority of people in Bournemouth.
Really?
Simple as that.
Well, we'll see about that. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. If you've got any great ideas for Mr. Parry to do instead of jumping off a pier, by all means text them in. You can tweet them at the two mics. Coming up next, we'll find out what he thinks of this big Sky deal.
If you have... You're talking about...
He was having a go at you for getting the rugby wrong for a start. But I'll tell you what, I'll take issue with you, Russell, because you said the two mics, proved the two mics wrong.
Yeah.
I think you'll find it was Mr. Parry who said that England would not win.
I didn't say they wouldn't win.
I said I was not sure that Stuart Lancaster was the right man for the job.
No, you're putting words in my mouth again.
And I said, hang on, I think we'll just have to wait and see how it all turns out on Friday night.
I never said,
that's what I said
they wouldn't win. I said I doubted the strength of Stuart Lancaster as a coach to see us through to victory in either the Six Nations, the Triple Crown, the Grand Slam or the World Cup. That's all. What's wrong with that?
You said you didn't like him because he was a PE teacher.
Well, he was a PE teacher. I didn't liken him to one. He was one.
No, but you said you didn't like him because he was a PE teacher.
Well, I just don't think a PE teacher
Anyway,
should
I'm just helping you out here because you
coach.
clearly, because it wasn't anything to do with you, you thought you wouldn't bother listening to the news report at the bottom of the hour.
Well, I was researching other things.
So poor old Russ went to a lot of trouble to actually slag you off, and you didn't even hear him.
Slightly rewrote the end of the story.
That's okay. That's all right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem. £10.1 million per game. That's the new deal. £10.1 million
Changing the
per
subject
game.
again.
Well, I thought that's what you wanted to talk about. You just said that we were going to talk about
That's
it.
what you want to talk about. I want to read you out a few emails and tweets that I've got here. Freddie says, I think Mr. Parry has turned into a chicken instead of a duck.
What?
Can you get somebody from Bournemouth FC on to stop this gerrymandering? Luke says, I think you should bungee jump over the stadium dressed as a bird or streak around the pitch. Any updates on the iron ore situation, he's asking as well.
Well, you see, you mocked me about the iron ore situation.
That's not me, that's Luke that's asking that question.
It became the central issue of the show last night when I alerted our listeners, millions of them, to the international iron ore situation, which is causing a crisis in Australia.
Are there any late developments on that?
Well, you know, it's ongoing. Well, it is ongoing, and now that Australia have had a referendum, an internal referendum on their Prime Minister, and he's staying, then that's one of the problems he's got to address, obviously.
Yeah, of course, obviously. Peter says, how about Porky wears his duck suit, brings a few bushels of his raw sausages and allows Cherry fans to pelt him with them?
I'm not going to do that. That's just not nice.
Here's a good one from Craig. He says, don't jump off the pier. Remember, only 33% of your ticker is working. We need you alive.
Yeah.
Ignore the fag-smoking baboon.
That's
which
you.
is a reference to me, which is a bit harsh,
absolutely. No, I think that's very good. The fag-smoking baboon is a very apt title, something that I might address you by, a title I might address you by in the future. Thank you very much indeed.
And then Freddie says, why doesn't Porky try shaving his beard off using a cooker instead?
A cooker? Well, that's because I got the baby belling thing wrong. You told me it was called a baby something.
Babyless.
Babyless, is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
I knew something like that. Yeah.
Well, I think so.
OK, it says here, Mr. Parry, you should do the Cinnamon Challenge again in front of a live audience in Bournemouth when the team go up. Well, I wouldn't do that again because it'd be very, very dangerous.
That's really dangerous.
Yeah,
that's more dangerous than jumping off a pier.
It is, only just survived it the first time. Have you read this one out? Doesn't Mr. Parry dress as a duck and walk into the sea and swim around for 5 minutes?
You could do that.
Like a duck. I could do that.
Well,
I don't mind doing that.
How about that then? Well, that might be better.
Fortunately, one of my supporters, Liz, says, leave Mr. Parry alone. He's cute. Or as Tom Jones would say, yeah, El Vigal.
Maxie has texted in.
Why would Tom Jones say that?
I think he's making fun of your impressions. Maxie has texted into 1889. The Queen's Park Hotel is the Cherries' local pub, a stone's throw away from the Dean Court. Mike Parry's cash would be most welcome, and Bournemouth can go top again on Saturday if they beat Huddersfield at home, as both Derby and Middlesbrough are in FA Cup action.
Yeah, well, there you go, you see. So it could all go into reverse again by the weekend. We haven't got a game on Saturday because not in the fifth round of the FA Cup.
No. Well, you can have a nice rest then after you get slaughtered by Chelsea tonight.
Well, dear me.
It's not one to look forward to.
It's not one to look forward to.
Anyway, you said that I misrepresented your opinions on the Sky situation because you said that...
Now, what did young Russ just say about me there?
What do you mean, what did he just say?
What did you say?
Well, he was slagging you off for getting it wrong about England and Wales.
I know, but the problem is I had my headphones on and they weren't switched on.
Well, if you had your headphones on, you should have heard what he said.
No, I didn't hear what he said.
Were you listening to another internal channel, were you?
Yeah, I was listening to an internal channel.
Oh, dear.
But listen, Ross, sorry, pal, if I wasn't paying attention. So he deliberately stayed in the studio just to give me a hard time, did he?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Well, he must be deflated now that I didn't hear what he said and therefore
I
had
think
no
he was.
effect on me whatsoever.
Well, unfortunately, I hadn't warned him in advance that as long as you don't know anyone's talking about you, don't pay any attention to what anybody's saying.
That is a bit harsh. Now, you're talking about the football.
Yes.
£10.1 million a game, not bad. What is wrong with being an armchair supporter?
There's nothing wrong with it.
I think so as well.
And that's what you are.
Well, to a large extent, I am.
Well, you just said that I was misrepresenting you a minute ago.
No, you said I prefer to watch a game from my couch than from the ground.
Well, you do.
Well, how come then that I took you to Crystal Palace 2 Saturdays ago when the game was Was it live on telly? No, it wasn't,
No.
but the highlights were on telly on Match
the
of the Day.
highlights are not the same, though, is it?
Yeah, well, hang on. I've been to plenty of games which have been live on the telly. The Spurs game that we went to was live on the telly.
Yeah.
That's why it was at 4 o'clock on a Sunday.
But you prefer to watch it at home on television.
No, I
because
don't.
Particularly in the cold weather.
I
It's a
don't.
more pleasant experience.
I don't. It's the time and the logistics around getting to a game and getting back.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with admitting that. Why don't you just admit it?
I do admit it. I admit that
Then
if
why are you annoyed with me pointing it out then?
if I happen to be in my South Coast penthouse, right, decide to go to
Which
Everton.
is not really a penthouse.
Look, will you just stop with the irrelevancies?
Well, if you keep
I think you
mentioning
envy my lifestyle.
Yeah,
don't
I do.
you?
Yeah, I'm really envious of you.
No,
yeah,
I think you
am.
do. I
Yeah.
think you do envy
Deep
my
down,
lifestyle.
I am very
and
envious.
by the way,
Yeah.
don't mind me saying,
Go on.
I passed your car on the way in tonight in the Talksport car park.
Yeah.
That wreck
It's
of a
not in the
dent.
Talksport car park. It's parked outside.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. That terrible dent in your bonnet
Yeah.
and the dent in the wing just above the light is still there. You've
Of course
clearly
it's still there.
not done a blind
Yeah, well, I have. I
thing
told you. I told you
about
last
getting
week.
it fixed.
Yeah, I told you last week
So
what
you
happened.
don't mind driving round
No.
in a completely wrecked car?
Well, no, I told you last week, but you've
Like
obviously
some
forgotten.
old tramp.
No, because you've forgotten, because it doesn't involve you. I told you that I took it to my local garage, and they told me 85 quid for the paint,
Yeah.
and something like 400 quid for the labour.
Yes.
So I said, well, I'm not paying that. That's like nearly 500 quid.
Yeah, but why-
to fix a car that costs 4 times that?
Why don't you go to Whole Foods and get a little kit and just touch it up so it doesn't look as badly injured as it is?
Touch it up with what?
With paint, touch-up paint.
What, any kind of paint?
No, you get the same colour as your car, you
Right.
idiot.
Well, you can't
They'll
get
mix-
the same colour as that.
You can, because
Not in
they'll mix
Halfords,
it.
you can't.
They'll mix it for you while you're
Well, I
there.
haven't got time to do that.
If you drive your car up near the door, a guy will come out, look at it, and his experienced professional eye, he'll go back in and mix a silver paint for you, and then at least you can put it on the scratches.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
Also, if I were you, I would jack up the car at the front, take the wheel off underneath the wing that's damaged, and then go underneath the wing, and then with a little hammer, I'd
maybe
tap
you'd like
out-
to do it for me.
No, I'm not doing it for you.
Why not?
Because I don't believe it's my responsibility, and I'd tap out the dent. I'd tap out the dent until it looked smooth again. Then I'd rub it on the top, and then I'd put the paint
You
on.
wouldn't do any such thing.
I would.
No, you
I would.
wouldn't.
I would.
No, you'd pay somebody else to do it.
No,
Yeah, you would.
No, I wouldn't. It'd be action.
You would throw money at them like you always do.
You keep saying that. I don't know why you say that.
Because
Why are
that's
you
what
so
you do.
envious of my lifestyle?
I'm not envious of
Why
you.
are you so envious of the fact that I've managed to look after my affairs all my life, and so
That's
I'm
why,
now
though.
in a position where I can afford the occasional quarter-pounder and chips? Okay? What's the problem, pal?
That's not exactly how you live, is it?
Now, let's get back to the old games, right? The games on the couch.
Are you going tonight, by the way, to the Chelsea
I'm not
game?
going to the game tonight.
Is it on TV?
Hang on.
It's live on Talk Sport.
It's live on TalkSport. That's
Yeah.
enough for me. I'll be listening to it there.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I haven't checked if it's on TV or not. And the reason for that is that I cannot find the expendable energy to go to the Everton game. And I have been invited, of course, invited on a couple of occasions by people who'd like me to...
What, to the game tonight?
Yeah, to join them,
Yeah.
in their...
Well, why don't you go then?
Their part of the ground. Because I can't expend the energy on that and then come here and expend energy on doing the
I
show
see.
with you.
Right.
Seriously, there's too much to do in a day.
That's true.
To be able to do
Well,
that.
these are the things that I know, having worked on this at this time of night for a very long time.
Yes, exactly. So that's the situation.
Well, that's a
But
big sacrifice. I'm grateful for you for making such a sacrifice.
Well, absolutely, but we'll be able to talk about the game after. It could be one of those surprise results, you know. It really could be one of those surprise
I
results.
wouldn't be at all surprised.
And who knows? Who knows? Because Everton deserve a break. I tell you, who's coming in for a lot of stick at the moment. Everton's manager,
Roberto Martinez.
Yeah, and I read a piece. I only caught it this evening. It was written by Matt Lawton.
Yeah.
In the Daily Mail last Saturday. It's quite scathing. He was saying that, you know, several members of the backroom staff have left, that...
Well, a lot of Everton fans are quite scathing about him as well.
Roberto's not getting a grip and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to sort of, give succour and comfort and audience to those rumours. As far as I'm concerned, Martinez is a great manager and he'll do great things. Now, let me just look at the old fixtures for tonight. Which game is televised tonight? Somebody tell me. I don't know. It doesn't matter because we listen to it on TalkSport anyways, the live commentary. So that's all you need to know, OK? Is that all you need to know?
I wasn't asking you which game is televised.
OK. Well, I'm not telling you anyway. So I found out.
You are certainly not the fountain of all
I
knowledge
have
there.
found out, and you need to know about it. Now, what I'm
But
saying
there's
is...
nothing wrong with being an armchair fan.
I
There's
had an
nothing wrong with-
ambition. I had an ambition to start like a website called the Armchair Supporters Club.
Oh, yeah.
Of which I'd be the chairman, right?
Of course.
And then fans who are in my sort of position, who live 300 miles away from their home club, right, could bond with each other and swap experiences and stories and all that kind of
What,
stuff.
of how they didn't go to any games?
Well, it's not about how you didn't go to any games, about the difficulties which you encounter. Actually, there's a bloke I know, I came across him because I did a lunch down on the south coast on St George's Day a couple of years ago. And one of the reasons I was asked to do it was because the bloke who was the chairman of the local, Rotary Club, is it?
Could be.
Yeah, the Rotary Club, who organised this St George's Day lunch, was an Everton fan who drives from, somewhere like Hastings to Goodison and back every Saturday.
Blimey.
I mean, that's, well, not every Saturday, but every time Everton is home.
Every other Saturday.
And I have to say, that is an enormous commitment.
Above and beyond the Call of Duty, that is.
Enormous. I mean, it must take 4 or 5 hours in each direction. It doesn't even stay over after the game.
Yeah.
At least when I go, I stay at the old Crown Plaza in the suite they have for me there,
Really?
overlooking the Mersey and all
They have
that.
a suite for you there?
Well, they always allocate me a very nice suite.
Do they?
They're nice people. They're good
Are they?
people.
Yeah.
And
You haven't been there many times this season.
I haven't been at all. I've made a
have to give a
positive
suite to
decision.
somebody else.
I don't have enough energy to be able to do that and everything else. And what I was going to say was, I mean, to
We've run
drive
out
there
of time.
5 hours up there, then see the game for 2 or 3 hours, and 5 hours back, enormous commitment.
More than
And
5
that's
hours, probably, for
why
the South
I
Coast.
think there should be no shame for people like that to say, I have joined the Armchair Supporters Club. Proprietor, Porky Parry.
I don't know what you're ashamed of. This is Talk Sport. Recognise that song by any chance?
Was it The Clash?
It was The Clash. Very good. Well done.
What was it called?
Career opportunities.
Career opportunities. That's a
Yeah.
good one. That's a good one. Listen, just before we go on, some chap called Graham has addressed this to you.
Has he?
It's the guy from Mexico
Oh,
who's
yeah, the
constantly
doctor.
baiting me.
Well, he doesn't bait you. He just likes to point out sometimes that some of the things that you come out with are not entirely
Don't know
based
why he
in
calls
fact.
himself the doctor. This
Because
guy...
he's a professor of history.
Oh, rubbish.
He is.
He claims to be a professor
No, he is
of
a
history.
professor of history.
Well, I've never seen him...
Do you know he said last week that
Yeah.
he gave to his ex-students, he gave the World War II battles quiz to them, and they got everything right apart from what was the hardest day. They got all 9 of the questions right.
Hang
apart
on.
from that one.
Where does this so-called professor actually prophesise?
Eh?
You know, where does he,
Where does he
give
work?
it... Yeah,
Well, he works in Mexico now.
Well, there's
a
some
university.
English university or Mexican university?
I'm not sure. I haven't.
So did he give the quiz in Spanish or did he give it in English?
I've no idea.
So you don't know, do you?
No, I don't.
This guy is
I have
a
no
myth.
reason to disbelieve
This
him, though.
man, I think, is a myth.
How many did you get in the World War II battles? quiz?
Anyway, he says, I know
you've moved on. Sorry.
Excuse me. I know someone
You're
who
very
knows...
snappy tonight.
He says all the way from Mexico.
Have you
this
not
guy.
eaten properly?
Excuse me, can I just get on
Yeah,
with,
go on then.
you know...
Carry on.
Putting content into the show.
Content?
that
Ooh,
you're-
super.
so that
Let's
you're-
have some content.
Your damned ramblings.
Yes. I love that word, content.
So this guy, Graham, who claims to be a professor, works apparently in Mexico, translates the quiz that we do on this show into Mexican, gives it to his Mexican students.
He doesn't translate it into Mexican.
Well, into Spanish. And his students are so bright, they're so bright, that even though...
They get 9 out of 10.
Yeah, about British military battles, even though they live and work and have been brought up in Mexico. I mean, well, how much do they know about the Mexican Civil War?
Well, maybe they know even more than that. Maybe they get 10 out of 10 for that.
Actually, was there a Mexican Civil War? Or am I talking about the war with Texas?
There was a war. There was the Texas-Mexican
That's
War,
right.
wasn't
That's
there?
the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that involved the... Alamo. No, it was
The
called
Alamo.
The Alamo.
Yeah.
The Alamo. Remember the Alamo.
Wasn't that involving General Custer and the Native Americans?
No, rubbish.
I don't
That
think
was Battle of Wounded Knee. And that was in Montana. No. The Alamo involved Davy Crockett, actually. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier.
Yeah, with his coonskin hat.
Yeah, that's right, and his Bowie knife. Or
Right.
maybe that was Jim Bowie, was it, with a Bowie knife? Anyway...
It wasn't David Bowie.
That wasn't David Bowie, no.
Anyway, what does he say in his
Well,
tweet?
he says, all the way from Mexico, the prof, rubbishing the quiz and all that. He says, I know someone who knows Chris Main, who is the mayor of Bournemouth, and I'll get him to have a word about Parry jumping off the pier. Says the doctor
There
in
you
Costa
go.
Rica. Oh, dear me, it sounds like a joke, this. Bit of a joke.
Well, maybe he does know the guy.
Anyway, new careers, yeah?
Yes, new careers.
Now-
There's lots of other ideas coming in on what you could do, but we'll get to those later on.
What, new careers?
No, not new careers, no.
Oh, really?
No,
About
just
what?
different things you could do for the Bournemouth bet.
Oh, I see, OK. Now, reason I want to talk to you about this, Mike, is because I think you've got to think about what you're going to do next.
Next?
You won't always be a broadcaster.
What do you mean after this?
Yeah, no, not after this show. After this part of your professional life,
Okay.
right? You won't always be a broadcaster. Now, have you made provisions for what to do next?
No.
Because we're all going to live till we're 80 or 85.
Well, you're not, are you?
No, I'm not. No.
You're always telling me that you've only got a few years left.
Well, only 1/3 of my heart works.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Is it actually true, though?
Of course it's true.
Well,
so
see, I'm beginning to wonder.
I wouldn't expect my ticker to last as
what
long
have the
as,
medics
say,
said?
Some bloke who's running a marathon every 3 weeks.
Well, what have the doctors said to you? I mean, what life expectancy have they given you? Because you must presumably have a checkup once every so often.
I don't like to go into these sort of things, Mike.
Have you had a checkup recently?
I can't comment on that. I really, medical records.
I mean, you go to the hospital every year for a fundraiser, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes,
and you raise money, which is very noble of you.
I do.
However, does that not also involve you meeting some of the doctors that saved your life, who then say to you, "Well, should you come in for a checkup now?"
Well, no. It's you have a regular diary of checkups that you have to go to, but I don't talk about them.
But so you do have them, though.
Of course I have.
Well, as long as you have them. So I wouldn't want you to fall ill or anything.
No. Of course I have them.
So what life expectancy have they told you?
Well, I can't go into that. I'm sorry.
10 years, 20?
I really,
5?
I really can't.
Well, because what I do next may have some bearing on whether you're dead or not. So I think you ought to tell me. I think you should take me into your confidence on the basis that if you're going to die in the next 3 years, then maybe I'll make some plans to do something else.
Well, maybe I should talk to you off air about this. I think it's a bit too shocking for our listeners, and I don't want to get anybody alarmed.
You're not going to die before 4 o'clock, are you?
No, definitely not. I don't want to be alarmed. Well, I haven't planned to anyway.
Go out for a cigarette.
Now, what I'm saying is, I know exactly what career I'll do next.
Really?
If I decide to leave
think it's gonna be?
broadcasting, or more likely, broadcasting decides to leave me. Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be a teacher.
Could happen.
I'm going to be a teacher.
What are you going to teach?
I will teach history.
That would be hilarious.
And
you could do a joint venture with the prof in Mexico.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Although I don't know what he teaches.
He teaches history, I told you that.
Rubbish. Sounds to me like he...
Why don't you become head of the IMF?
With old... what's his name?
I was just reading about Dominic Strauss-Kahn earlier today.
He only goes to 4 orgies a year,
yeah,
he said. He said he's not a bad person.
This is what he said in the court. He said, despite the idea given in court papers of frenetic activity, the orgy sessions were organised 4 times a year because he'd been very busy saving the world from catastrophe at the time of the subprime crisis.
When he was head of what, the IMF?
And when he was head of the IMF.
That's right,
because the world was in a terrible place financially, he was only able to get to 4 orgies that year.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, isn't it? Have you ever been to an orgy?
No.
No, I haven't either. I mean, I'd like to.
Well, if I had been, do you think I'd admit to it in front of you on the radio?
Well, you might have gone to an orgy when you were 23 or something like that.
Really?
Who knows? Yeah.
No.
Or maybe you met your future wife when you were 23. You might have gone to an orgy when you were 18.
You're saying I met her at an orgy.
No, you didn't meet her at an orgy. No. I've always wondered what goes on in orgies.
Well, just become head of the IMF and you'll find out.
Well, that's right, absolutely right. Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. He, by the way, was so unaware of the fact that he'd in any way violated the lady who was the chambermaid in the New York hotel that he went and met his daughter for lunch. They went to a very swish lunch at...
somewhere in Manhattan, right?
I think it was the Carlisle.
Yeah,
went to the Carlisle Hotel, something like that. And then he goes out to Kennedy. When he gets to Kennedy, he realises he's left his second mobile phone behind and remembers leaving it on the cabinet in his suite in the hotel he was staying in.
Right.
Can't remember which one it was now. Can you remember which one it was?
I think, was it not the Ritz or something?
Something like that.
Right.
So he then rings...
the Plaza, maybe.
I don't think it was the Plaza. I'd remembered the Plaza. So he then rings the hotel and says, hello, this is Dominic, what's his name?
Strauss-Kahn.
Dominic Strauss-Kahn. I'm the head of the IMF, and I get a free seat on an Air France flight to Paris very soon in first class. I've left my phone. What are you laughing at?
Nothing
I've left my phone in my
Just
suite.
like Inspector Clouseau.
That's right, yeah, I've left my phone in my suite, and I would like you to send a courier out with it right now. What he didn't realise was that for the last hour there'd been an investigation going on at the hotel involving the police after the chambermaid had claimed that he'd sexually assaulted her.
That's right.
So, he couldn't have believed he'd done anything wrong if he rang the hotel and told them exactly where he was, because they were running all over town looking for him.
This court case that's going on in France at the moment suggests that he still doesn't think that there's anything wrong with what he did. And,
exactly.
It's a very bizarre
And so
situation.
what happens is, instead of a courier turning up with the phone, he's literally sitting there luxuriating in his seat in the first-class bubble of an Air France jumbo about to take off for Parry, and 2 cops walk on board and say, I'm sorry, you've got to come with us.
You'll have to come with
and
us.
he was puzzled. He said, What for? And he thought, hang on, this must be some IMF business, and I'm being escorted off the plane because I'm so important.
To save the world.
Yeah, to save the world. That's right. Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's your so how are you going to go about? First of all, if you want to be a history teacher,
yes,
you'll have to take some kind of qualification.
No, you won't.
You have to
no,
take
this
an exam.
is the whole point.
Well, you can't be a history teacher if you don't know anything about history.
No, you don't understand, Mike. You see, you get to an age, I think it's about 65 or something like that, and you have so much life experience, you can just become a teacher.
No, you can't.
You can become a life experience teacher.
You could become a journalism professor, because they're always looking for those.
That's utter rubbish.
Good laugh.
It's utter rubbish.
In fact, there's quite a good journalism school down in Bournemouth. There's a couple of friends of mine.
Oh, there is, yeah.
A couple of friends of mine have camped down there. And they
me-
actually said to me, would you like to come down and lecture a little bit on journalism?
Media classes don't work, do they? You either got it or you haven't got it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not a question of that. You're talking about doing something else. I mean, if you wanted to have a relatively quiet and secluded life, you could go and live in Bournemouth, do about 5 lectures a week, and away you go.
Why don't they have teachers who teach life science?
Because you can't.
Yes, you can.
How can you teach life?
I could teach kids, the pitfalls of...
what would you say?
I'd say...
Right. What would be your 5... Right, you've got about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
What would be your 5 points?
The 5 points for life?
To teach kids for life, yeah.
OK.
Number 1.
Right, don't trust anybody who tells you... No, seriously. Don't trust anybody who tells you this is a good idea or a good deal or a bargain.
Right.
Number 2 would be always...
Look on the bright side of life.
No. Always doubt things which look too good to be true.
What about number 3?
If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Number 3, beware of cats, because they're evil.
Number 3, beware of cats. Number 4, if you're not winning, it's because you're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
And number 5 would be money is magic.
Money is magic.
Yeah, money is magic. How about that?
Tremendous.
Because that'll give children then the incentive to, I'll go and earn some money, because if I earn a lot of money, magic happens in my life. And it can happen. Money can make magic.
Here's one for you.
I don't go with all these people who say money doesn't bring you happiness.
Here's one.
I tell you what, poverty brings you absolute misery. I tell you that for now. I made sure I wasn't going to be poverty-stricken from a very early age.
Stop it. Derek in Pencoed, South Wales, says, Porky, George Custer was not involved in Wounded Knee because he was killed at Little Bighorn.
Oh, that's the one. I knew it was something like that, yeah. I wonder he was involved in Wounded Knee then.
Well,
George Custer was Little Bighorn.
Yeah,
I knew.
You might have to do a bit of research before you become a history professor.
Well, I'd become a history... You see, I would teach the social and economic history of England in the 19th century, when we had the spinning jenny, Compton's mule...
Compton's mule?
Yeah, that was an agricultural machine that put seed in the ground and all this kind of stuff.
Right. Was it not a real mule then?
Well, of course it wasn't a real mule.
Well, how do I know?
It was made of iron. And,
was it made of iron ore?
And it was Thomas Telford, it was Brunel, the greatest engineer we ever had. Yeah. It was Tom McAdam Rhodes and all that. I know all about that social economic explosion, which led to England being the workshop of the world. And the what are you laughing at?
You had about 3 extra Red Bulls tonight, so you've seen the time. Look at the time.
And the start of the British Empire.
It's very nearly time for the news. I just can't even read you this out from Tony in Sale. Okay. If Porky Parry was Mike Graham, Porky would be 6 foot tall, not the lardy 5'5" that he is. Porky, why don't you admit that you have a Napoleon complex? Everyone can. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out, of course, a little bit later on this morning. The professor in Mexico, who's calling himself a doctor in Costa Rica at the moment for a few days, says, Mr. Parry, not a history professor. He says, lectured at Oxford, Harvard, UNAM and BUAP.
Who did?
British University of something or other, I imagine that's.
And who says that?
Graham, the professor in Mexico.
What, he's actually replying
he says he's lectured at Oxford and Harvard, as well as at UNAM and BUAP. I'm not quite sure what that stands for, but I imagine
I'll
it's British
check that out with my contacts at Oxford.
Yeah, OK.
At Brasenose, where I went.
Woodenhead
for an interview.
Brasenose. You went for an interview, yes. It doesn't really count, I'm afraid.
It doesn't really,
no.
I suppose, no.
Woodenhead says, I've got a few future career ideas for Porky. Doorstop, paperweight or punch bag.
Oh, really? That's very, very funny.
And
very
Craig
funny.
says, the only problem with Porky teaching kids is that after 5 minutes they will all run out of the room with fear. They will actually, because if you actually provided your kind of life lessons to them, they would think that life was a terrible place to be because you always look badly at life. You look at life as some kind of a massive challenge that you have to fight all the time.
Well, I don't look at it as a challenge you have to fight, but I mean,
you're always fighting.
If you're complacent about life, life will tread you into the dirt. Right?
No, it won't.
It will.
That's what I'm saying.
It will.
Life is to be embraced. Life is to be enjoyed. Life is to be experienced, and it is to be savoured. Not to be feared, not to be frightened of, not to be constantly bashing your head against.
Now then, I like this one from Craig.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you reading.
No.
I can see that you didn't hear any of that.
I did.
I thought that was a rather eloquent speech,
I thought it was very eloquent.
Far more motivational
life
than your
is not
kind
there
of
to have
fear.
your head trodden in and all that you just said. Yeah, I heard all that. Don't worry.
No, I did not say it's not there for you.
Anyway, listen, Craig here makes a very, very astute point.
Yes.
I get the feeling he might be from, like, Wales.
Why do you get that feeling?
Because his... no, maybe it's not Wales. I thought it was, like, Welsh he was writing in. It's not. No.
How can you mistake English for Welsh?
Well, you can't. Now then, he says, be very careful, Mr. Parry. I get the feeling that old MG wants you dead so he can pursue this show on his own and have it back to himself.
Right. Yeah.
And the way you're talking, he may well be right.
No, that's
he
not
will
true
be
at all.
right. Your envy and malice towards me has come out quite starkly tonight.
Not true at all. The only reason I said I'd like to know if you've got any, predictions for when your early death might come, it would be useful for me to know, because obviously we're doing live shows together. We've got things booked in advance.
Yep.
And, I plan to spend quite a lot of time with you.
Yeah,
so if you're not going to be around, then I think it'd be only fair if you let me know.
Good thinking. Now, there's one here. This is good, and I'm glad they've raised this, and this is from a chap called Freddie.
Yeah.
He says, Mr. Parry, what happened to your crusade on pub hygiene? Has it come to any fruition?
Yeah, that's a good
Or
idea,
was it just another useless idea that you've forgotten about? No, it's not.
What's the latest
No,
on that?
it's not. I still crusade on pub hygiene. If I go into a public house and I want to use the bathroom and I want to wash my hands and there's no soap, I am immediately on the case, believe me. And I tell you what, and this is no joke, I've even thought of a system where you should install cameras in the bathrooms overlooking the areas.
It's illegal to put
overlooking
cameras in
the
the
areas
bathrooms.
where the washing basins are, right? And anybody who leaves that room without washing their hands, no matter what, should be reported immediately.
Or you could just put an attendant in there, I suppose.
Well, an attendant's even better. And do you know, that was my original idea. You should have an attendant there who hands out towels.
Because they have that at nice bars.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
nice sort of, restaurants and
exactly.
things,
Do you know what?
Hotels.
Do you know, that is a very good point, Mike. An extra cost to a pub, 2 extra costs to a pub. One should be a person outside employed to pick up the litter deposited by people who come out and throw cigarette stubs on the ground and all that kind of stuff.
Well, they could have an ashtray, couldn't they? And then you'd have to do that.
Yeah, okay. But secondly, perhaps more importantly, actually, yeah, you're right. It's fast food outlets that should have somebody outside picking up the litter.
Yeah.
But in pubs, you're absolutely right. Every washroom should have an attendant. And that attendant would then actually, mentally force people to use the wash basins because the attendant would be standing there with towels for
Mind you,
them.
without putting too fine a point, some of the washrooms, as you described them, in some of the older pubs, which are a little bit down at heel, and would not be places you'd want to spend a lot of time standing in, would you? You wouldn't be able to
disgrace.
You wouldn't be able to get
some
anybody
of them
in there.
are a disgrace.
They are.
I totally agree with you, and that's got to be sorted out.
Now,
But you're
more
absolutely
importantly,
right.
since we're talking about previous campaigns of yours, there are lots of people on Twitter asking for an update on the wet room, because you told us last Thursday night and going to Friday morning that the guys were all sorting it, the Polish guys were there on the weekend and they were going to do it. Is it done?
No. This is...
Why not?
Well, I've got another team of people coming around tomorrow.
What, a different lot?
Yes.
Well, what, did the first lot screw it up?
Well, not necessarily, but you've got to remember, for such a big project, you need...
You told me they were going to be finished over the weekend.
Well, we've hit some complications.
Right.
Now, you need pipe fitters.
Yeah.
You need plumbers.
Grouters.
Well, tilers they are. You need tilers.
Plasterers.
You do need, but the
Plastering's quite hard to do.
tilers and the plasterers are the same people.
Yeah.
But also, you need electricians. Because, when you get into a shower and you turn that big button, which makes the water come bursting out of the shower head, right?
The on button.
Yeah, the on button, that's right. That's actually done, I thought it was done by like a sort of suction pump or something.
No,
it's not, it's electric.
It's a power shower,
Yeah, it's electricity, that's right, yeah. And so if you get any water on that and it blows up, you can set the house on fire.
Yeah, that's not good.
So it's not good.
So what's the current state of the wet room then? Have the pipes been laid?
Well, this is the problem. Trying to get the pipes in. Bit of a problem.
So it must look like a building site again.
I'm afraid
Like the floor's all dug up?
Well, I'm afraid it looks like the inside of Saddam Hussein's palace after
After it got bombed?
Yeah, that's right. After the Americans got there, or the insurgents. The insurgents got there, and the roof garden looks like downtown Baghdad, I'm afraid, at the moment. It's not a happy scene.
It must not be pleasant.
Not a
That's
happy
why you're
scene.
in such a bad mood, because it's not a place of repose, is it? Because, normally your home is your castle. You want to be able to spend time there. You want to be able to look around and think, this is nice, this is what I've got to live in.
Yeah.
But if it's in a mess, that's awful.
Yeah, but it's only in a mess because I've tried so hard to improve things.
No, I know that.
And the improvement process has unfortunately backfired a bit.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I've got a second bathroom.
Right.
It's got a circular bath in it.
Yeah.
With a shower attachment. So I'm not exactly.
No, I know, that's
I'm not
fine.
exactly bereft
And that's very fortunate.
of what I would call, cleansing, plunging facilities.
No. But the problem with all of those workmen being around there is that you can't really have the place yourself, so you must have to go out all day. while they're working.
No, not necessarily.
Don't you?
Not necessarily.
How do you sleep?
No, it's not that. I mean, for instance, I was away at the weekend. I had working in then.
That's what I mean.
I was away down on the coast, right? And then my cleaning lady goes round, my housekeeper. Not fair to call her a cleaning lady. She's a lot more than that.
Of course.
And keeps an eye on things. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah, but I mean, say yesterday, for example, when you were here, you were in London, right? So you had to be at home if these guys were there fixing it up.
Yes, but unfortunately, it was a much briefer visit because when they arrived, they realised they couldn't. And so I've got to have another expert coming in tomorrow night. Unfortunately, these things happen.
Shocking.
But,
now, listen to this. For you saying to me that I'd somehow unveiled some part of me that was never previously made clear to you, of malice and all that. Here's one from Kenny, who says, MG, I'm disappointed with you tonight. You aren't giving Porky a hard time. I know he's got a bad ticker, but please give him a little more of a hard time.
What? What for?
So people recognise that I'm being very nice to you.
I don't know. I just can't work all this thing out. Listen, I've come across a phenomenon which could help people like you and me. Oh, yeah, I've got this one from the so-called prof now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a history professor. Lectures at Oxford, Harvard, UNAM and BUAC.
I just read that out.
I know. In Costa Rica Review Day. He doesn't say which subject he lectures in.
Well,
what subject you lecture in, prof?
He was a history lecturer.
No, he says not a history professor.
No, he means you.
What?
He means you're not a history professor.
I think it means he's not.
No, he's referring to you questioning his credentials as a history professor.
These
you should technically say not a history professor ?
Somebody else has sent a picture of me, which is a standard picture which TalkSport give out when people want a picture of me, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's got a caption written on it. Says, sometimes I don't even know what I'm talking about. That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
It's quite accurate, though.
It is a bit harsh.
Anyway, it's reached that time again. You have to look into the light because we're going to have to go away for a moment. But coming up very, very soon, we're going to have the Parry philosophy of the week, and it's all going to be aimed at Aston Villa fans.
Certainly is, to help you out.
To help your general demeanour and not to be too downhearted about what went on last night. Now, for a conversation that we often have about the importance of relationships in your life.
Indeed.
Because a couple of people have been making pronunciations on your on the terrible state of your place. Bill says this. Porky's house is taking longer to fix than bloody Petrocelli's, the 70s TV lawyer. He says, you'll soon be in a caravan, Porky.
Petrocelli, I remember him, wasn't he?
I don't remember that.
He had tight, curly black hair. He was, I think he was of sort of Mexican extraction or something like that.
Was he Hispanic, perhaps?
Oh, no, Petrocelli sounds more Italian, doesn't it?
It does, rather, yeah.
Italian.
Yeah.
It was an Italian, tight,
black,
black,
Do you ever see Inspector Montalbano, by the way? Have you ever seen that
Inspector
show?
who?
Montalbano.
No, where's he from?
No, it's in Italy. It's a great TV show.
Oh,
but it's subtitled. It's an Italian detective series.
There's some great...
Based in... I would have thought for Porky Vision you'd have had a look at it.
No, I might have a look at it. There's another Nordic one coming soon, another Nordic cop, like Scandinavian cops.
Yeah.
They're very popular here, aren't they?
They are.
What was I going to say?
We're going to talk about relationships.
Relationships.
Yes.
Now, listen. I picked up on something the other day because somebody was talking to me. Do you realise that 1 in 10 people in a marriage or a live-together partnership, something like that, and I'm surprised it's only 1 in 10, have a secret escape fund?
Funds? What, you mean, like money somewhere?
Well, they stash money away so that if it all goes wrong, they can just walk out on it and they've got a cushion.
I think a lot of women do that, actually.
Yeah, and also a lot of well, I think men might do it as well. A lot of women also apparently have agreements with lawyers unbeknown to their husbands.
Yes, I'm sure that's true.
You know what I mean? If they think that it's not going to last and all that, they've already consulted a lawyer to see. I mean, it's almost like, is it worth me leaving him? You know what I mean? How much do I get from the house and all that kind of stuff? I mean, quite amazing that. Particularly if the wealth has been acquired after the marriage, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, does the woman get what they were worth when they married, half the house which they bought for 150 grand, or now the house is worth $3.5 million because they married 20 years ago, she get half of that, you know what I mean?
I mean, you know the answer to that, don't you? I mean, they always get half of whatever the higher figure is.
That's right.
And, the bigger question, I suppose, for a lot of women now is if they move into somebody's house latterly, for example, say the third wife moves into a guy's house and the house is worth 10 million.
Yes.
Should she, if she only lives with him for a couple of years, should she get half of the house?
Yeah.
She still gets it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which way round you cut it.
And even if she's been the unfaithful one, she still gets it.
It doesn't matter.
This says the key to a happy marriage is supposed to be not keeping any secrets.
Yeah.
That's
rubbish.
But there's a very guilty secret. 1 in 10 of us has a stash of cash kept hidden from our partner in case we want to flee the relationship.
Yeah.
It reveals these escape funds. It's men who are more likely than women to have accumulated them.
Really?
Yeah, because they want to walk out. 11% of men admitted they've hidden cash away so they could leave, compared with 8% of women determine the average amount in these secret accounts is £7,500.
Really? Well, that's not going to get you very far,
I was
is
going
it?
to say, it wouldn't get you far, would it? That lasts me about a month.
Yeah. Well, with all the money
that.
you throw away.
Well, you know, for me.
Hand out to people.
So if I wanted to run away for a month, that'd be all right. Now, Money Advice Service...
But you see, they'll be caught out by doing that because, I mean,
Why?
what, if any woman worth her salt, if you end up getting a divorce, as you know I have, if they've got a good lawyer, they will find any amount of money that you've got hidden, no matter where you've hidden it.
Well, how can they?
Well, because you have to give full and frank disclosure as to what your assets are.
Yeah,
and you can't pretend that you haven't got money that you've got somewhere.
Yeah.
Unless you're carrying it around in a bag and cash.
Yeah, but you know I told you the night about the £12,000 bond I put into the
have you
Cheltenham
found
and
it
Gloucester.
yet?
No, I haven't actually.
You still haven't found it?
Well,
some people were expressing amazement at that.
Yeah, it doesn't...
The so-called man of the people has a bank account that he doesn't even know about.
Well, it doesn't mature for about another year, I don't think, because I did ask my accountant about it. But anyway, it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, I mean, how would... If I was in a relationship, I wouldn't have told the woman I was in a relationship with that I had that anyway.
No, you wouldn't.
So
but if you were married to her, right, and you then got divorced, the lawyers would demand that you disclose all assets that you have.
Yeah, but
and then you can have an argument about whether she's entitled to them.
Exactly. I acquired that long time before I met her. If I meet her tomorrow, she's not having any of that. No.
No, but my point is you can have that argument in front of a judge, but you can't pretend that it's not there. You can't say, well, I haven't got this house that you say that I've got down in, some part of the south coast. You can't pretend you haven't got it.
No, well, you can't pretend you haven't got it because you've probably taken it there. But the point is,
I mean, any asset that you have,
if I've got a few
hide
stashed away, I wouldn't tell her, for instance, about, my collection of football memorabilia, which could be worth, tens of thousands of pounds.
Or nothing at all.
Well, next year I think it will be because it's the 2016 is the 50th anniversary of the World Cup.
Yeah.
And
so?
I have things relating to that.
What have you got?
Well, I can't tell you because people might break into my house and try and steal it.
Well, they won't be able to find it, would they? Because it's all under blankets and canvases and sheets and all sorts of things,
Getting back to this secret stash of money and all that, right? The other side of the coin, the flip side of the coin is that lots of people in relationships don't reveal the extent of their debts. So women who have secret bingo...
what you mean while they're in the relationship?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Women who have secret bingo passions or something like that. Men who go gambling, and horses and all that.
Well, I must confess, when I was married, one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was to get a joint bank account.
Really?
Because that was one of the things that people were encouraged to do because you paid the mortgage out of the joint bank account. Yeah. My salary went into the joint bank account. But it was all very much one-way traffic,
Yeah.
And so I had no control, really, at the end over the joint bank account.
I'm mad to do that. I mean, why not have two bank accounts? A joint one with your wife to keep her happy, but then your own stash in another bank account.
Because,
that's what I do.
When you have a main bank account, that's the one that your salary goes into.
Well, it's true.
And so that was the one that was the case. And now, of course, I don't do it that way at all. I do it completely
what
differently.
I would do is I'd say to my employers, look, I only want my wife to know I earn 2/3 of what I really earn.
Well, that's underhand.
No, well, of course it is. Put 2/3 into the joint account, please, and 1/3 into my account. Then I'd siphon off 1/3 of the money. I'd have my secret stash.
Do you think they would do that, though?
Well, why not? If you ask them to, why not?
Well,
why
because
not?
it's underhand and it's possibly illegal. Because one of the things that happens when for example, you do get a divorce, or even when you separate, the bank insists that you let them know immediately so that there's no kind of legal problems. And immediately what they do is they freeze the account.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's serious business.
Yeah, well, that's why you need a separate account yourself. I'd have one all the time. I've got a few accounts, I've told you.
But that's because to you, dealing in an underhand manner comes naturally to you.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
No, I think you've just got to protect yourself from the... the graspers in life who will have every penny off you.
I see. I'm much more optimistic than you are about people.
Well, I'd say Mugsville. I
know you'd say
you
that.
come from Mugsville.
Yeah, well, maybe so.
Yeah. Now, I'll tell you...
I don't mind that.
I'll tell you about a mate of mine, right? And this literally split up his marriage, his life and everything. Yeah. His wife kept saying, we should take the children to Florida, It was, like in the sort of... late 80s, Florida was the place to go. You'd go there very cheaply and all that kind of stuff. Everybody went there. Oh, we must go to Florida. And all the neighbours had been to Florida. We can't afford to go to Florida. I don't get paid enough, Oh, well, I don't know whether they had a joint bank account or not. I don't know whether he hid the money. This man was a big gambler. Right. For instance, he'd never go to Cheltenham with less than £1,500.
Really?
And the night before Cheltenham, in the pub in Fleet Street, he used to take it out and say, this is my Cheltenham wad, this is my wedge.
Was this a fellow journalist?
Yeah, a fellow journalist, He used to get terribly drunk the night before Cheltenham, and then he was drunk all the way through Cheltenham. In fact, he was having a secret affair with the lady who ran the bed and breakfast in Cheltenham, where he stayed every year. He only saw her once a year for 4 days, and that was it, until the next year. Right. But she was married anyway, so, I mean, it's a nice arrangement for him.
That's an unusual definition of bed and breakfast,
Well, it certainly is. But anyway, what happened was she went and got one of his suits out the wardrobe to take the dry clean or something like that, and she found his William Hill monthly account in the inside pocket. And he owed something like 2,700 quid, which in those days was maybe £5,000 today.
Yeah.
4 grand, 5 grand.
It's a lot of money, anyway.
Well, it would easily have paid for a family holiday to Florida. That's the point.
Yeah.
And when she confronted him about it, and he said, "Oh, it was a one-off," you know, she demanded the truth and all that kind of stuff. She actually went to the betting shop that was the one he used all the time and all that, and found out that this wasn't anything unusual, a monthly debit of 2,700. It was every month and all that. And in fact, he'd probably sunk like 20 grand a year or something like that into it.
Shocking.
Much more than he'd ever told her she earned. So that was it. And
Well, it's not surprising, is it, really?
I lived in Surrey, right, and they bought a house for about, literally sort of 36,000.
Yeah.
You know, they first got married, the early 80s, something like that. That house was now worth about 350, which isn't a lot now, but it was then.
Yeah.
And he lost a lot. Well, when I say lost a lot...
Well, she took the house.
Well, yeah, I think she did. She took the house.
Can't really blame her, can you?
And he somehow... Well, they had 3 kids all growing up.
Yeah.
And he somehow rescued 50 grand somewhere and wanted to put down as a deposit on another house, which he had to buy for himself.
Yeah.
But it was all, you know, it was all...
Well, that's why,
and that was all from gambling debts.
But that's why deception is never the best way to go, you see.
No, it's not. But that's why you should save some of your money for yourself.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, up to a point, you know, you can't maybe be completely honest about absolutely everything. But, you know, nevertheless, you can't be completely kind of hiding things from your partner either.
Well, I think it's a good idea.
That's not a good idea either.
I think they'll do you before you do them,
But this is why,
so to
in the
speak.
end,
You know
this is
what I mean?
why, as I always say to you, that this is the real reason why you've never really got married.
Why?
Because you wouldn't trust anybody enough to be married to somebody.
I'm not sure about that. Now, listen, just before, before...
Are we moving on again now?
Well, yeah, but this is great. Ever since George Clooney got married to that very beautiful and very brainy girl who's a solicitor lawyer, every man now wants a brainier girlfriend. Because of the George Clooney effect.
Apart from you, presumably.
Well, no,
you don't like Brady girlfriends.
Well, that's not true. That's a bit unkind.
It is true.
It's not true.
You've always had girlfriends that were beneath you.
Oh, come on. You're insulting every girlfriend I've ever had, and I've had 40.
40 girlfriends?
Yeah. So what can you...
Why such a round number?
Well, 40-ish. But, I mean, how you can say that, I don't know. I've gone out with stockbrokers. I've gone out with fashion editors of newspapers.
Oh, yeah.
I've gone out with senior journalists.
Not for very long, though.
Broadcasters.
Not
you
for
name
very
it,
long.
man. You name it. But the George Clooney effect now means every man wants a brighter woman on his arm, not a dimmer one. How about that?
Yeah. Well, like I said, apart from you. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up is Parry philosophy.
Aston Villa must get back to the inspiration given to their region by the mighty industrial revolution of the 19th century. They need to remember those grim, burning furnaces. The furnaces evidenced in the successful TV series The Peaky Blinders. Not for nothing was the Midlands centred on that mighty city of Birmingham, the home of Aston Villa, known as the workshop of the world. Now examine the dynamic of that statement. Workshop of the world. The backbone to the British Empire. In particular, focus on that first illusionary word, workshop, and reflect now on the 21st century reality. Yes, that's right. Villa does not work, and to save themselves, they need to shop. Work, shop. Work, shop. Work, shop. Workshop, workshop, workshop.
Workshop.
Yes.
Is that it then?
Yes.
So that is your answer.
They're not working, so it does not work.
Yeah. They're not shopping either.
Well, they obviously...
Because the transfer window's shut.
Well, exactly, but they've got to shop around and get their act together.
Right.
And, I mean, I could be talking there, Zen-like, about shopping around for a manager, couldn't I?
Yeah, you could, actually,
Because, you know, Mr. Paul Lambert, who's, you know, I'm sure a very decent chap, is having no luck at reviving the team.
He's not.
And we were listening, weren't we, to the stats earlier on in the show prior to this one about the amount of goals they haven't scored, half a goal a game or something like that.
Shocking state of affairs.
That was what Andy and Jace came to the conclusion about. And so I think that's very fitting. Workshop of the world.
Yeah.
It ain't working. You've got to go out shopping and find some ideas.
I can see
and maybe
there's,
find a new manager.
I can see there's some resonance there. Unfortunately, I'm not even sure that the Zen master that you've sort of conjured up there can help Aston Villa. I just don't see Aston Villa getting out of it at all.
But I put it
and
all
it doesn't
in...
make any odds to them that they were once the workshop of the world.
Of course
it doesn't make any
does.
difference to them
Of course it does.
that they used to manufacture all this iron stuff.
I've put it all in... Of course it does.
It doesn't exist anymore.
No, I've put it all into perspective for
No, you
you. I've
haven't.
put it into focus. I have.
I don't think that's going to help them at all.
If they are true to their heritage, then that will inspire them to get out of the rut they're in. Just like Newcastle are always inspired by the days when all you had to do on the Northumberland coast was go and shout down a coal mine, anybody want to play for the Magpies? And somebody like War Jackie Milburn would suddenly pop his head up and say,
yeah, found him?
Yeah, of course they do. They found all their players in coal mines.
Really?
All the Newcastle players used to be miners in the 20s and 30s.
Well, thank goodness they've stopped that particular practice.
Yeah, exactly. There's no coal mines anymore, are there? So they can't find them now.
Now they get on the ferry, don't they? Go over to France and shout over at the French borders.
There certainly has been a bit of that,
anybody
hasn't
there
there?
who would like to play for Newcastle United?
Certainly has been a bit of that, hasn't there? You know, but no, a lot of what Newcastle do today was forged by the recession of the 20s.
Yes.
And everything that Birmingham should be about today was forged literally in the white-hot heat of the Industrial Revolution between 1815, when we beat Napoleon at Waterloo.
I thought the white-hot heat was the white-hot heat of technology in the 60s.
No.
Nobody called it the white-hot heat of the
And
Industrial Revolution.
1912, when we hit our peak of economic power as the British Empire.
Yeah.
In 1912,
Well, none of this is going to help Aston
never
Villa.
set on the British Empire anywhere in the world, and our output and production was at its absolute peak.
None
Didn't
of
know
that,
did you?
Yeah, I know, but we're in a completely different world now. I know that you like to live in the past, and the Zen master likes to live in the past. But actually, that's not going to do them any use at all, because, you know, having driven up to Birmingham the other day, last week, driven right past, actually, Aston Villa's football ground.
Yeah, on the
which is
Aston Expressway.
a mighty impressive sight,
It
I have
is,
to say.
isn't it? Yeah,
And it would be a real shame when they're in the Championship, but I'm afraid that's where they're going.
Well, you know, we hope not, because, as you say, they are a very big club indeed.
Now, listen to this from Peter in Wallasey,
who
has texted in.
Wallasey,
he
good
says,
place.
Dear me, Mr. Parry, when the divorce judgments ask for your personal details, that means all of the last 2 years of all banking and salary details, plus all savings, investment, shares and details of any valuables. Listen to Mike Graham and stay as the individual you are. Porky.
Stay as the individual.
I think he means don't get married.
Oh, I
because
see.
He thinks
you
you might get taken to the cleaners, because you would think you can hide all this stuff from your other half, when in fact you wouldn't be able to hide any of it.
Well, some of us are, you know, smarter than the average bear. That's all I can say.
Some of us are, but
That's
bears, let's face it, not very smart.
I say, well, you know, it's an expression.
Now,
isn't it,
speaking of bears, I don't want you to give anything away, but can you give us a bit of a taste of Porky Vision, which is going to come tomorrow, as to what shows you're going to be looking at? Because there's been a lot of talk this week about the new version of Breaking Bad, which is called Better Call Saul. Now, I don't know whether you'll have seen that, because it's on Netflix, and they've just released the first one.
No.
Will you be giving a look to that at all?
No, because that's a minor programme. I go for the masses.
A minor programme?
No, only a minority audience will see that, because it's on a channel called, what, Netflix? Netflix. And
you have to subscribe to it, to be fair.
Well, exactly. It's a subscription
You
channel.
might be able to get a free month's trial.
No. I operate for the masses.
Right.
And the masses for Porky Vision are those popular programmes. I mean...
No, you've done Fortitude, which is on a subscription channel.
Yeah. I won't be doing any more of that.
No?
No, I won't be doing any more
I was looking forward to finding out what happened to the polar bear that managed to disguise itself in the snow.
Yeah, you don't need to know, to be honest.
Well, what can we look forward to tomorrow, then? Just give us a taster.
No, I don't want to. I want to surprise the audience tomorrow. I mean, there are some standard programmes like Broadchurch, which you need an update on, OK? That's not a problem.
OK.
That's not a problem. But then there are what I'd call the unusuals, which...
who's in that?
Well, I can't tell you. It's not the name of a programme.
Oh, I thought it was.
It's a
I thought
category.
it was like the Expendables.
No, it's a category of the programmes, which I intend to review tomorrow, including one particular film. Okay?
A film?
A film. Going to review a film
What, a
tomorrow.
film that was on the television?
A film that's on television.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So
And
we're going to
it's
branch out into cinematic reviews.
a landmark film. A landmark film, no doubt about it. And I'll be talking about that as well. But meanwhile, let's get off film and into literature.
Okay.
Because guess what I discovered today?
What did you
Somebody
discover?
rang me up and said to me, do you know it is the 125th anniversary of the birth of the Russian poet Boris Pasternak?
Who would ring you up and tell you that?
Well, I have friends in the literary world.
And not one of your friends in the Russian Secret Service?
Well, I can't go into that, but it's somebody who's obviously aware of Russian culture. Now,
Dr. Zhivago.
This is very relevant to you and I. Exactly. He wrote Dr. Zhivago.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest films of all time.
It is
don't
a great
you?
film, yeah.
You know that
I
scene?
agree.
You know that scene when Omar Sharif and Julie Christie are living in the ice palace in
Yeah.
the middle of the forest,
Yeah.
and then the white cavalry turn up and say, "You've got to come with us. You're a doctor. You've got to come and help
Help the revolution.
Help the revolution."
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and he has to go off. And the heartbreaking scene at the end when old Zhivago sees Julie Christie on a tram
Yeah.
going through St. Petersburg, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah. And he's running alongside it and has a heart attack.
Yeah.
So that's how I could end. That's
Yeah.
how it could all end for
Well,
me.
it is.
That sort of, that romantic
So that's
thing.
what you think about when you watch Dr. Zhivago.
But anyway, you and I know a lot more about the Pasternaks than most.
We do.
We actually worked with a member of the Pasternak family.
Yeah, was she not his great niece or something like
She was
that?
his great niece. What was her name?
Her name was Anna Pasternak.
Anna Pasternak.
Yeah.
And she was an extraordinary woman who actually wrote the first book revealing the romance between Diana, Princess of Wales, and
James Hewitt.
James Hewitt.
Yeah.
But she
Except
wrote
it was written in such a terrible manner and in a flowery kind of Mills and Boon sort of romance novel
Yeah.
type style
Yeah.
that nobody believed it.
Well, for legal reasons, she didn't write it as a factual book. She
Yeah.
wrote it, as you quite rightly say, as a fictional book.
Yeah.
But it was based on the story from James Hewitt about romance, which nobody believed at
No.
the time. Everybody thought it was all made up. And then, about 5 years later, Andrew Morton comes along with evidence directly from Diana, because
Yeah.
she was sending tapes over to him every night with
Yeah.
relating the appalling marriage that she was involved in.
Right.
And that became a world bestseller because it was true, but in fact it mirrored exactly what the fictional book had said,
It
didn't
did.
it?
It did.
Yeah.
But by then, people were willing to believe it. But when she wrote the book originally, 'cause
Yeah.
I think the Express ended up serialising it, and everybody
Yeah.
who was working at the Express going, "This is absolute rubbish.
Yes.
Why on
I know-
earth are
I
we
know.
running this stuff? It's nonsense."
I know.
And it was all very Mills and Boon, like his kind of, he
That's
clutched
right.
me to his chest, and
Yeah,
I
it
could
was.
see the hairs protruding from the top of his collar.
Yeah,
and
but that was the whole idea, to
was
try
nonsense.
and make out that it wasn't based on fact and all that.
Yeah.
She was married to an old Etonian guy.
She was from the Sun.
Yeah, that's right. He was the royal correspondent on the Sun.
But we've got to stop now, though, because
Yeah.
we've run out of time.
Yeah, but I thought people should know that anyway.
should know that.
because it is a fascinating fact. Fascinating.
It was a fascinating time. We'll have to tell
Yeah.
more royal stories, actually.
Yeah.
But maybe not tonight,
Yeah.
but maybe tomorrow night. This is Talk Sport.
Well, I, of course, revealed to the world the death of Diana, Princess
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Wales.
yeah. No, you didn't.
No,
Absolute
no,
rubbish.
that was
You did not.
one of my landmarks
No, it
in
wasn't.
print journalism.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was, and I can
into the
prove
light.
it.
Look into the light. This is Talk Sport.
Catch your own train, yeah.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. Together we are the two Mikes. And, of course, there will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on this morning. Got quite a few tweets coming in on the subject of relationship talk and what you've been saying.
Yes.
And here's one rather unkind from Woodenhead who says, 40 women Parry's had a relationship with and not one wanted to be the next Mrs. Parry.
Well, no.
Says it all, really, he says.
No, that's not true. Very few of them were offered the opportunity to be the next Mrs. Parry, you see.
Very few.
You see?
Right.
Yeah.
Here's another one from Tommy. He says, finding a girlfriend more intelligent than Porky is hardly narrowing the field.
What?
Which seems a bit harsh.
That is a bit harsh, indeed.
And here's
yeah.
one from Sean, who says, has Porky seen the latest pics of Caroline Wozniacki? Only a tenth of his heart would work if he'd had a look at those.
Right, why? Is she
Apparently
particularly,
she's done
looking
a sports...
particularly attractive,
Well,
is she?
you know what sometimes happens when famous people split up, even if they're not that famous. But obviously she splits up with Rory McIlroy. She's just done a swimsuit shoot for Sports Illustrated.
In America.
So you can imagine what that's all about, I
Yeah.
suppose.
This guy who claims to be the professor's whinging on again. Mr. Parry, where are the photos of you and Joan Collins, captain of school cricket and footy teams, etc.? I told you to bring them in. Well, yeah, but you don't run the show, Prof. We do.
It's true, actually.
Yeah.
He is getting a bit above his station.
He is getting a bit above his station.
Although, to be fair, I have asked you for those pictures. And then Sean says, your Parry philosophy, you sound like a right Ravi Shankar.
Ravi Shankar.
Remember Ravi Shankar?
Yeah, I do.
Sitar player.
Sitar player. In fact, brilliant man who taught George Harrison how to play the sitar.
He did indeed.
How about that? Now, have you read this one out from Paul? Loving the advice, going to set up another account and then dump the wife. Cheers, lads, says Paul.
Yeah.
Have you read that one out?
I haven't read that one out, no, but it's very interesting.
Yeah. Not that we should encourage people to go around wrecking their marriages or anything like that, should we?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, be smart in the average bear, have a bit in reserve.
Well, you can't, though. You can't hide it. That's the point.
Yeah.
And also, if you were listening to anything I said, you would know when I'd read something out.
I did.
You would know. Now, you said that Better Call Saul is a minor, TV show. Adam says this. Better Call Saul breaks the record for most views debut series at 6.9 million. Not bad for a minor show.
Hang on.
And also Woodenhead
which
says
channel is that on?
Well, it was released in America this week.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
On
6.9
Netflix.
million in America is not that many.
It's huge for a
it's-
one-off.
Yeah, well, come on, they've got 300 million people in America.
Yeah.
That's 5 times as many as we got here. So they should be doing 30 million for a show like that, shouldn't they?
No.
I
That's
think
not
they
the way
should.
TV works
I think
anymore.
they should.
And Ricardo says, thank you, Mr. Parry. I'm sure a season will improve following your Villa ramble.
Well, I hope it will. I hope it'll give them inspiration and let them go there.
Right.
Listen, just before we move on, I found out something else this week. In 1540, on this day, the first recorded race meeting in England was held at the Rudee Fields in Chester. How about
Rudee
that?
Fields?
That's my hometown.
Is that how you pronounce it?
The Rudee is the racecourse in Chester.
Oh, right.
It's the only one in the world that's circular, right? So there's no straights.
Right.
It's just circular, right?
Right.
And it's in a bowl right next to the River Dee and between the River Dee and the city walls. Okay.
Right.
And the Romans would have used it.
City walls in Chester are very impressive.
Oh yeah, very impressive indeed. And I didn't know that the first ever recorded race meeting took place there.
Really?
What an historic city I came from.
When are you going to
First
take
we
me
had
there?
the Romans. Be some time, mate. Be
Why?
some time. Well,
We went to Windsor races.
Hauling
Why
you
can't we
all
go
the
to
way
Chester
up
races?
north,
Can we not just go
not
for the
sure
racing
my car
one day?
would make it, eh?
Well, I
What?
don't need to lift in your car. We can go on the train.
Yeah,
Can we
we'll
not go
on
to
the train.
Chester races for the day?
We could do.
Why don't we do that?
Might work on that. Might work on that
Right.
for the future. Chester races
Now,
sounds good.
you were talking the other day, and bizarrely, actually, a couple of people came in from North America after the show had finished with tweets saying that actually, despite the fact that you were wrong about the front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive thing, that most cars actually now do have front-wheel drive.
Yes.
A couple of people who live in America with a lot of snow said actually, if you have a front-wheel drive car, it is better to drive it uphill backwards.
Exactly.
They did say that.
Thank you.
However,
Thank you.
I'm not saying that makes you
So
right.
I was widely ridiculed
Well, hang
by
on.
you and the dozens of listeners you encouraged to ridicule
Dozens
me
of
as well.
listeners, yeah. Well, let's hope there's a few more than that.
Yeah,
No,
well, we've got millions of listeners, but a few soft-minded dozen
I'm not saying
fell in with you.
I'm not saying that makes you right, but bizarrely, in the same week, there's a study that's come out in Saudi Arabia that actually says
In Saudi Arabia?
if you've got arthritis, your knees and your bones and joints could actually be helped if you started walking backwards.
Oh, I've known this for a while. I often, and people will laugh now
you
and
can't
think
walk
that.
backwards.
Hear me out. You
Do I have
can't.
to?
You can't walk backwards because you would be a complete oddity and you'd bump into things. That's
Right,
for sure.
exactly.
But what I do. Yeah, what I do.
The DDD.
And it's for this very reason that there are muscles in the back of your legs which aren't exercised enough, or the front of your legs, or whatever, because you only keep walking forwards. Not quite often, maybe twice or 3 times a week, I forsake the lift at the old penthouse and I walk up the stairs backwards, because that then exercises.
You walk up the stairs
I
backwards?
walk up the stairs backwards,
That's
yes.
ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous?
Well, you can't walk upstairs backwards.
You can, honest to God, and you should.
I don't see how you could. And I don't see how that would do anything
And I tell
other
you something
than
else.
put extra pressure on your Achilles tendon.
And I tell you something else. It's even better to walk down the stairs backwards, okay? That is even better.
I'm not buying that.
No, Mike, I'm telling you it is. It does enormous good to your legs, to your body, to the balance of your body, to your hip bones, to your sternum.
Yeah,
it
but
does.
forgive me
for
for saying
everything.
so, but
Yeah.
you hardly look as if you're in the physical prime of your life. So all of this walking backwards, I mean, what would you look like if you didn't walk backwards,
Mike,
for example?
if you want to go for a 3-mile walk, and I've put this to you before...
There's lots of people I would want to go for a 3-mile walk with, but you're not one of them.
On a route from the front of TalkSport Towers, down the road, across the bridge, across the River Thames, down the other side of the embankment, back over Waterloo Bridge and back here. If you'd like to do that with me, I can
wouldn't.
tell you, I'll leave you trailing in my wake.
I don't care.
Trailing in my wake.
I'm not interested in going anywhere
Trailing
with
in
you,
my wake.
unless it
But-
involves
but
something
literally-
interesting and fun at the other end.
But listen. All jokes aside, reversing your body. I mean, why do you think? Here, let me
I'm
tell
just
you.
checking my dashboard to see how
Yeah.
many flights of stairs I've climbed today.
Okay.
4 flights today.
Have you?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Because I've told you about this before. You take
What
no
is this?
attention to anything I
What
show
is
you.
this?
This is my, this is my app. It's called a health app on my iPhone.
Yeah.
And it tells me exactly how many steps I've walked.
How does it
tells
know?
me because I walk around with it on my person and it measures the distance. It's magic, okay?
Really? Sounds a bit
magic.
magic, yeah. Listen,
And it says walking and running distance today, not very much, 0.12 kilometres.
Well, there you go. You
But
see,
my daily average is 1.53.
completely unfit. So
1.53. Well, what's yours? All
What?
I've got is your
What?
word for whatever your distance is.
Well, today I walked a route into town, turned left, went down to the river one walked back across the
You
downs.
can't just give me a number, can you?
What, miles today? About
Yeah.
3.5.
So
Three and a
where's
half
your
or 4.
proof?
Well, I don't need proof.
Well, my proof is right here.
Yeah, but
This
hang
is
on.
my proof
Yeah,
because I carry this with me everywhere I go.
Hey, I'm the Portmeister. I'm a man of my word.
It's the funniest thing you said all night.
Man of my word. People don't
Really?
doubt me. What I was going to say is, why do you think when you see boxers training? So think of the Rocky films, okay?
Yeah.
Think of
That was a movie.
Yeah, I know it was. Think of the footage of Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Think of the footage of Chris
They skip,
Eubank.
don't they?
Yeah, but when they're doing the road work, think of Mike Tyson. When they're doing the road work, how many times do you see them turn around and reverse and start running backwards?
Yeah, quite a lot.
You see it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's for that
Well,
very
you're not-
reason.
well, you're not a boxer.
I know I'm not, but I'm a human being, and to develop all
I'm
the
not sure about
muscles
that either.
in your body properly, to develop all the muscles in your body properly.
Muscles. Yeah. How about your mouth muscles?
My mouth muscles have gone. My tongue is too big for my mouth. They used to say that about a colleague of yours up in Scotland.
No, I used to say about Harry Kane.
Hey, about
I
who?
used to say about Harry Kane that his tongue seems too big for his mouth.
Who's Harry Kane?
What do you mean, who's Harry Kane?
Who's Harry Kane?
He plays for Spurs.
Oh, I'm sorry, that Harry Kane, yeah, that young kid. I thought we were talking about drunken journalists because the expression your
It's easy to
tongue's
confuse the two.
the expression your tongue's too big for your mouth was said of a colleague of ours who was the editor of the Scottish Daily Express.
Oh, yeah?
And he used to repair to the wine bar about midday, and he had a phone in there where everybody could get him in the afternoon.
Oh,
and,
I know the guy you
And
mean,
by
yeah.
about 3 o'clock, the expression used in Scotland was, I used to say, is our mate there? I used to say to the barman in this wine bar,
Yeah.
is he there? Mike, he's here, but his tongue's a bit too big for his mouth at the moment. And that's an expression in Scotland
Right.
for you're intoxicated.
Well, at least he was there, unlike the guy who took over. Unlike the guy who took over from him,
Who's that?
who was quite often not in the pub, but was in another establishment of
Yeah.
ill repute when they used to try and track him down because he spent half his life either in the pub or in this brothel, apparently, that he had an account with. Yeah,
No.
yeah, it's true.
Really?
Absolutely.
You'll tell me who he is
I'm
when
not
we go off
giving you-
air.
I'm not giving you any names.
Now, listen, we are doing our show at the Hen and Chickens a week on Friday.
Yes, we are.
That's the 13th.
It's not very far away now, is it?
It's not very far away. And then 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, we're doing Birmingham, right?
Yeah, we are.
But have I told you I also have a public engagement this Friday?
Hey,
I've got a public engagement on Friday night.
public engagement. Which Friday night?
This Friday night coming up.
What, the 13th?
The 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Very ominous.
Yeah. I'm opening a pub.
Are you?
Opening a pub. In,
Well, that's not unusual. You open pubs every Friday.
no,
don't you?
no.
You stand outside, and when the door opens, you're
No.
the first customer in.
No, in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Right.
Right. I am opening or reopening.
What, like as a celebrity, you mean?
Yes, absolutely. There's pictures of me in the window in the
How
high
come you haven't
street.
invited me?
No, well, I didn't think you'd want to come.
No, you're right. I don't.
Yeah, there's pictures of me in the window already. Come and meet, Mike Porky, Parry. At the
Really?
the reopening of the Old Bank. It's called the Old Bank. It's
Right.
next to the station in Sutton, right? Which is near to
Are you
where
full
I
of
live.
old bankers?
No. Don't be smutty and
I'm not
down
being
market.
smutty.
It's a very upmarket establishment.
Oh, I bet it is, yeah.
And
right by the station, you say?
yeah, right by the station. Anybody who wants to come along, 5 o'clock on Friday. And in fact, I'm going
Well,
to
which station?
Sutton Station.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to put a picture.
You sure you want to put that out on national radio, as you now have? Because what if a couple of thousand people turn up?
They're very welcome.
Well, they won't be welcome in a pub that only holds 300.
Well, Well, we'll have to get some
cause a riot.
bodyguards in or something like that. If they want to come, they're very
Why
welcome.
have they asked you to open a pub, for heaven's sake?
They wanted a bit of class and quality to re-establish the reputation of the pub.
Oh, yeah.
It may have been a little bit down market in the past. Not
Have you
saying
checked
it was.
have you checked the washrooms for soap?
There will be soap in the washrooms. Don't worry about that. It's very upmarket now.
Is it?
And I tell you what I'll do. I'll get a picture of the posters that's in the window.
That'll be good.
And I'll put one on Twitter.
Okay.
And tweet it out tomorrow.
Well, you did it on tomorrow. That'd be good.
Yeah. And then you'll be able to see it. Okay.
All right.
And looking forward to seeing
Well,
people.
thanks for telling me.
Well, no. What was the point of telling you?
Well, because I might have needed to clear my diary for such an auspicious event.
Well, I mean, if you want to come, you're very welcome. I did.
Well, now
think,
you tell me.
I
I
did
think I've got
think
something else going on Friday.
you see, I thought on a Friday you get into the bosom of your family and you
Exactly.
wouldn't want to be disturbed. You know what I mean? But there we are. I can't help being in demand, can I? Hey, it's one of those things.
Tony from
I don't remember
Manchester.
them asking you to accompany me. Actually, now I think about it. Ha 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 ha.
Well, that's good then. You just have to go on your own, like you
Yes.
normally do. Hi, Mr. Graham. He says, if not done before, Mike Parry has to have a quiz on Chester. I was born in the Grosvenor Hotel in 1952. My parents were the managers and can prove it. I can relate to some of what he says, but, ?
Hey, that's brilliant. That.
Well,
Yeah.
he says that he can relate to some of what you say about Chester, but
Yeah.
not all of it.
Well-
So what he's suggesting, I think, that some of it's a load of old
No,
cobbles.
no. I think he's suggesting he doesn't know as much about his home city as I do. And as I was, the star reporter on the local weekly paper, the Chester Chronicle, I will have got into every nook and cranny of the society, of the city, of its history, of its heritage,
We've seen the time, by the
and
way.
everything else. You're obsessed by the time, you are.
Yeah, I am, because it's a
Obsessed.
radio station we work for.
Obsessed.
And the radio is obsessed with the time. But anyway, thank you very much indeed. There will be a
Been a
podcast
pleasure, of
coming
course.
out later on this morning in about 4 or 5 hours' time. And, of course, Mr. Parry will return at 2 a.m. tomorrow. Look out for his picture of this pub with his picture in the window that he's going to open a little bit later on this week. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne podcast from the two mics. Have you seen the papers over the weekend, Michael?
Which, of
yes,
course, you have.
Yes, I have. Yes. That's my job. I read every newspaper every day, Mr. Kelly. There's been a series of stories about events happening inside this building, and I'd like you, Michael, I'd like you to organise an immediate inquiry into this leak. This is very,
A leak
very
inquiry?
A leak inquiry, yeah. I said, leave it with Mr. Kelly, I'm on the job. I'll get right down to it. Of course, I was the leak.
Long balls in the width.